Hey guys, it's Drew, and today I'm going to show you guys how I like to make my Texas style brisket using a very simple salt and pepper rub along with a whole packer brisket. I'm going to show you guys how I trim it, how I season it, and then how I smoke it on my Yoder YS640S. So I hope you guys like this video. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already so you guys can see more videos in the future. Okay guys, so we have a 17-pound packer choice brisket. Packer means it's the point and the flat put together. They are not trimmed apart. So what I did is I put it in the freezer for a couple of minutes while I was setting up for the video so that it can get really hard on the fatty areas, on the fat areas actually, so it'll make it a lot easier for us to cut. So let's just make our first initial cut right here. Opening up the package. It took me a while to realize that you can open it from the back after a few briskets. So yeah. I don't know what took me so long. So we'll go ahead and open this up. So look at that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna pat it dry, get all the excess moisture off so it can be a lot easier to cut, because when the meat is slippery or the fat is slippery, that's pretty dangerous. We don't want to slip and cut ourselves, cause an accident. Ugh. Remember, this thing is 17 pounds before we trim it. So just get a nice little, All right, so what I'm gonna do, if the fat is hard, it's most likely not gonna render actually. So what I'm gonna do is just cut this off. And yeah, look at that. It's just all fat, not gonna render. Throw that away. I usually like to cut off a piece right here. And again, just big chunks of fat that are not gonna break down. They're not gonna do anything except get in your way. I like to cut some meat right here on the side. I like to square it up a little bit. And this should be a lot easier with a much better knife, a much sharper knife. I haven't pulled the trigger on some really good knives yet. I'm still kind of doing my homework on that. I want to buy a really good knife, buy it once, cry once kind of thing. So if you guys know of any good knives, put them down in the comments. I'd love to hear you guys' recommendations. So again, just keep squaring it off right here. And I kind of like to think I'm making it aerodynamic a little bit right here on the side. When I do that, just kind of little pieces right here. So I think the hardest part of this whole thing, besides actually like waiting for it to cook, is really trimming. That's something that I struggle with sometimes. A lot of the times actually, because you're kind of like, you don't know what to cut off. So my good rule of thumb is nice and aerodynamic. It's gonna flow a little bit. You're gonna sacrifice a little bit of meat. Don't worry, you have a whole lot of hunk of meat right here that is gonna be more than enough to feed tons of people. So don't worry about that too much. And take your time. This isn't a race. All right, so I'm gonna flip this bad boy over. And right off the bat, just this random little excess piece. And let's see here. You know what? I didn't wipe down the board, so it got a little moist again. So I'm gonna wipe it down again really good. You'll notice a difference right away. We're gonna just finish squaring it up on this side, or on this end. Throw that away. Actually, I'm gonna just turn this just slightly. All right, so here we have a huge hunk of just fat. Look at that. It's a good amount. And I like to get it and just ride with it as much as I can. Kind of get 1/4 inch of fat on this back part. Look at that. Toss that away. Just keep going. Pull back on it. And again, if you have a sharper knife, this will be a lot easier and a lot faster and a lot more precise. But again, leave your comments in the description. Leave your comments down below. That way we can check out some knives you guys might recommend. And it's still pretty thick. I don't know if you guys show that right there. So I still want it a little bit thinner. I want about a 1/4 inch down of fat. So I'm gonna cut this off. Let's see here. And when this happens, kind of made a little boo-boo, I guess, a little mistake. I'm gonna get some fat and just kind of patch it up. And when we put it in the smoker, that way it won't dry out, and it's a pretty easy fix. Nothing to get too worried about. That's even if you want to do that. Some people just don't, just leave it. That's totally fine too. And that's the things I love about barbecue. It's like, it's not everyone's barbecue is just a little bit different, and that just makes it more unique. And that's the awesome part. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna season this bad boy. We're gonna keep it very simple. Just salt and pepper. Salt, 2 parts of salt, 2 parts of pepper, 1 part of salt. I felt like last time when I did an equal ratio, it was a little too salty for me. I don't know what it is, so I'm gonna go 2 parts pepper, 1 part salt. And I already pre-mixed it. And also I put a little bit, just like a couple dashes of celery seed. That also helps it give that nice bark. So for this season to stick, this rub, I guess, to stick, I'm just gonna put on a little bit of mustard, just so it can act as a binder. It's not gonna change the flavor. It's not gonna make it more tender. It's not gonna do anything different other than act as a glue to our rub so that it can stick on there and really penetrate the meat. And that way it won't fall off. So just give it a nice, good rub. We'll start over here. I like to start off a little high just so I can get a nice even coat. There it is. And I don't like to go too heavy on this stuff. I like to give it just a nice little, just get the backside. And I know a lot of you might think I'm cross-contaminating, but I'm actually gonna throw all this stuff away. I'm pretty much done with these bottles, these rubs. I ran out of gloves due to COVID-19. I can't order any, I can't find any of the ones that I like, the ones that I like to use for my cooking. So yeah, in case you see that. All right, guys, now that our rub is all set in, what we're gonna do is we're gonna let it sit for a little while we go fire up our smoker. Once it's fired up, we're gonna see that the meat, that the rub pulled out all that moisture, not all that moisture, but some moisture out of the brisket, and we will notice that it really set in and it's really set and it's ready to go on the pit. It's actually 9:35 p.m. I'm gonna put it in, try to have it ready to go by 10:30, and let it go all night, and we'll see how it goes. So let's go get the smoker fired up. Okay guys, so it has been about 30 minutes since we put the rub on. The brisket's been taking in all that rub. Our smoker is up to temp. I'm gonna open her up. Beautiful, beautiful smell. And what I like to do is I like to go fat side up. I know it's a big debate, but that's just how I like to do it. I like to put the point, the fattiest part, closer towards the fire, and fat side up. We'll leave it in here. It's currently, what time is it? It's 10:08 p.m. So we'll go ahead and leave it, close her up. We have her at 225 degrees, and we'll see her in the morning. So I just put the brisket in the smoker at 225. The reason I put it that low is so we can have the smoker absorb more smoke overnight. Since we have plenty of time, we're gonna go to sleep, let the Yoder do its thing, and then come about 6 in the morning or so, I'm gonna look at the temperature, I'm gonna look at the color, and see what the smoker has done to our brisket. I also plugged in 2 probes, one in the flat and one in the point side, and I'm mainly looking at the temperature in the flat just because it's the thinnest part of our brisket. I want to see what temperature it's going to be at. I also set an alert on my phone using the Fireboard app that my Yoder has, which is super helpful. I can check my temps all from inside my house while my smoker is doing its thing outside. So we're gonna let it soak in all that smoke, let that fat render down, and then after a few hours, we're gonna wrap it up in butcher paper so it can really retain all that moisture. So I'm gonna go to sleep, and we'll see you guys in the morning. So this has been about 8 hours after being in the smoker. I left it running at 225 all night. As you can see, that beautiful color that I just absolutely love on that brisket. The fat looks great. The color looks great. We're starting to get that nice bark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take it inside and go ahead and wrap it in our butcher paper, as you'll see in this next clip. I like to flip it twice. So get that little piece of paper, butcher paper over it at first, and we'll go ahead and flip it 2 times. This butcher paper isn't wide enough, so as you can see, I got another piece of paper so I can kind of cover the sides and make sure everything is all nice and sealed up with our butcher paper. Also, what I wanted to mention is when I put it back in the smoker, I'm gonna crank the heat up to 250 degrees. That'll get the fat going, that'll get more of the juices kind of coming out of the brisket, and also still retaining all of that moisture inside. Okay guys, so it's been about 12 hours and I wrapped the, look at that. Let's just see how tender it is. Ooh, that's going in like butter. Oh man. This thing is ready for sure. I'm gonna pull it and get it inside and put it in a cooler. One of the cool things I want to show you in this video is my Fireboard app. It's included on the Yoder YS640S. It has a probe inside of the smoker, which you can see on the graph under the pit section. It kept a nice 250 degrees, and as we can see here, it's a nice chart with both of the probes, with the flat and the point, as well as the smoker itself. You can really tell where I opened up the pit and took out the brisket and wrapped it, and then when I cranked it up to 250 degrees, it does a really good job at keeping a really good temp. And you could also set alerts with the app to send you a text when you reach a certain temperature, and a bunch of other cool stuff that I would really recommend you guys checking out and playing around with it. So after letting it rest for about an hour, I'm ready to slice it, and I just can't wait to see what it looks like inside and what it tastes like. Let's see. Okay guys, so as we see here, we have our beautiful, beautiful brisket after about 12 hours of being in the smoker. So just a little recap before we slice it up. We trimmed it up to our liking, really got rid of all that hard fat that's not gonna render down. We seasoned it. We put some mustard just to use as a binder, salt and pepper, 2-to-1 ratio, and a little bit of celery seed just to help develop the bark that we see here. We then put it in the smoker at 225 degrees. We let that baby roll all night for about 7 hours. And after 7 hours, I wrapped it in butcher paper. And after I put in the butcher paper, I put it up to 250 degrees just so it can really start rendering more of that fat. And it's not gonna take any more smoke, so it's just gonna get really, really hot and really render that fat. So we let it rest for about an hour. I think it's ready. We're ready to slice it up. I'm gonna take our first slice, gonna cut against the grain here. Cuts really, really nice, really smooth. I'm gonna cut a couple of slices, about pencil width. And the grain is running this way, so we're gonna cut across it. It's looking really nice. Let's see what we get here. Couple more slices so we can really get in there. Oh yeah. So I can't even pull it out without it ripping. So as you can see there, it's just pulls apart tender. Really nice smoke ring actually. Even though we're on a pellet grill, still get a nice smoke ring. I'm gonna take a test and try it out. Really tender. It's not overpowering. You can really taste that salt and pepper for sure. The bark is really, really good. I'm gonna give a piece to my wife because she's looking at me behind camera. And super tender. Like, I can't even explain how easy it is just to rip that apart. Like, even you can chew this without any gums. So, I mean, with just gums, not with, I meant without teeth. Oh yeah. Now let's slice into the, let's go about right here. Woo. You can hear all of the juices just screaming out. Look at that. Oh yeah. We're gonna cut it halfways. I'm really loving how this brisket turned out. Cut it down the middle. Look at that. Nice and juicy and just, oh man. Let's cut a slice. Whew. This is probably one of my favorite parts of the brisket. As you can tell there, it just came out so freaking tender. It's still pretty hot, but yeah, that's the stuff right there. This is how I like to cook my brisket, guys. I hope this helps you out to cook your brisket. Once again, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe. I want to keep making more videos. Let me know down in the comments what you guys want me to make next, and I'd be more than happy to do so. I'll see you guys next time.